What is going on, guys? Brad Messersmith here from the Fantasy Golf Degenerates, bringing you another expert model breakdown on the fantasyfanatics.com. As always, make sure to get over to thefantasyfanatics.com and become a premium member to get access to all the tools you're going to see today and more. We are into the Players Championship this week, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. We are at TPC Sawgrass. I've got a news flash for you. There's a green surrounded by water. In case you haven't heard yet, there's a green surrounded by water. Newsflash, people. There's a green surrounded by water. 17th green, obviously very iconic. Most of you will have already heard the news that there is a green surrounded by water on TPC Sawgrass. Obviously, the Players Championship, one of the strongest field events in the year, has one of the biggest purses in all of the throughout the season. So definitely going to see some big names come to show out, and let's go ahead and dig right into the model. So, key stats this week: strokes gained approach is getting a 5 weighting. It is massively one of the biggest stats I'm going to be looking at this week. I think this is largely a second shot course. If you haven't already heard, it's a Pete Dye design course, so it's going to most likely be a second shot course. In fact, we know it's going to be a second shot course. You're going to have to kind of place the ball, use a little bit of strategy. You're not going to be able to overpower this golf course with strength. So strokes gained approach is going to show up, and closely followed behind is strokes gained tee to green with a 4 weighting. Strokes differential field average gets a little bit heavier a weight than it typically does in my models. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. This week it does. In strong field events, typically we're going to tend to see the cream of the crop rise to the top. If you look at the winners over the course of the past 5 to 10 years, you will find that most of them are in the top 15 in the official world golf rankings, if not higher in many cases. So strokes differential field average is going to be a way to throw those guys into your model and really build them in and have them show up high in your model. Draftkings points gained in strong field events goes hand in hand with that. Obviously, we're going to want the guys who are going to perform well in strong field events. And then par 4 scoring and sand safe percentage both get a 2 weight. Par 4 scoring is pretty relevant every single week, but in this week it shows up in the trends tool a little bit more heavily than it typically does. Not going to rule guys out just because of par 4 scoring. And also sand safe percentage, if you look at the winners in the past couple of years, last 5 or 10 years or so, you're going to see basically all of them are ranked in the top 20 or so in sand save percentage. So definitely going to be relevant. Most likely you will expect the winner to have played well from the sand. So all of that being said, let's go ahead and dig right into it. We've got the stats weighted at 50%, recent form at 30%, and course history at 20%. I think with these Pete Dye courses, you're going to want to target guys that are a little bit familiar with the Pete Dye design and style, and in this case, we're at Pete Dye course that kind of has its own style and a little bit of teeth that these guys won't be used to on other Pete Dye courses. So, all of that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. I kind of skipped by the entire top range, and there's a reason for that. Other than maybe 1 or 2 guys. Henrik Stenson is one that comes to mind. Possibly Jason Day, depending on how you want to handle him. It's going to be really hard to go wrong with these guys on the top of the salary list. They're all perfectly capable of winning. Depending on which stats you're looking at and which ones you're reading into most, you may favor a few of those guys. But ultimately, I'm not going to fault you for playing really any of those guys up top, including Henrik Stenson. But personally, I will probably be fading Henrik Stenson and taking a little bit of each of the guys up top. So I'll cover kind of this mid to low range a little bit more heavily this week, kind of given that criteria. So Justin Thomas, 8,900, is actually probably going to be my favorite golfer in the entire field. If you look carefully, he is 10th in the official world golf rankings, which kind of puts him in that category of kind of fitting the trend that the top guys are going to win this type of event. So seeing that he is 10th in the official world golf rankings and only 8,900 and has been playing fairly decent golf. His recent form hasn't been perfect, but he's not that far removed from having back-to-back wins and just rattling off top 10s and top 5s left and right. So going to be playing quite a bit of Justin Thomas. My only concern here is that he has a tendency to be a bit inaccurate off the tee over the past couple of years. We've seen him kind of mold his game a little bit this year. He's played well on some courses that you wouldn't necessarily expect him to. So going to be kind of writing that off. And obviously course history, he has a 24th and a 3rd place finish here. So phenomenal course history here, best in the field. Obviously it's a small sample size, but something I'm going to be reading into and playing quite a bit of. When it comes to the stats, Patrick Cantlay will not stand out. If you look at your cheat sheet, you will see that he does not have stats. Hasn't played enough events this year for the stats to be taken into account. There was a time in which Ryan told me how many events they need to qualify for the cheat sheet. I think it's 5 to 8 or so, in that range. So he has not had enough events to pull his stats in, but has been playing very, very well since he stormed back on tour and earned his card. He's playing, or re-earned his card, I should say. He's playing fairly carefree. So I'm going to throw the fact out that he shows up so low in my model and go ahead and roster him at 7,700. I actually think that Patrick Cantlay has a ton of upside for GPPs and possibly could win this thing. He's a bit far removed from playing on a big stage like this, so I think that's kind of a long shot to see him win, but definitely has the upside to nail a top 10 here. You guys are going to get tired of me saying the name Francesco Molinari this year, I think. He is going to be a guy I'm going to target basically every single week until his price goes way up or we see something different from his game. But his sand safe percentage does concern me a little bit. That being said, he's playing too good a golf for me to want to overlook. You can see he's 6 of 7 in made cuts, top 25s in almost all of those events. So I'm going to continue playing him. I think he's safe for cash. He has some good course history. There's too much that speaks to playing Francesco Molinari this week. Like I said, I've been playing him for months, and I will continue to do so. Charl Schwartzel, to me, is another guy who stands out as a bit underpriced. 7,100. I think I could see Charl Schwartzel really finish high on the leaderboard. We've seen him play well this year on big stages. I believe it was the Masters that he will have finished 3rd place. Let me just, double check. So it was the Masters. He also has a 6th place finish at the Valspar, but playing some good golf coming in. Statistically, you can see here is kind of fitting the mold. Par 4 scoring is not the best, but when you kind of take it all into account, all around, for a golfer of this skill level to be 7,100, I'm going to take him. I think he's cash viable. He's probably playable in all formats. Bernd Wiesberger, you will see, is overall number 5 in my model. Is playing extremely good golf. You can see there's some asterisks near his stats. That means those are Euro Tour stats. So you want to be a little bit careful here with Bernd Wiesberger when he shows up high in your models if you're making them yourself. But that being said, at 6,800, supreme talent golfer, has been playing very well internationally, has made a slew of cuts in a row now. So going to be playing quite a bit of Bernd Wiesberger. And the last guy I want to touch on is Alexander Noren at 6,800. I think we talked about him last week. We definitely talked about him on the podcast last week. Alexander Noren at 6,800 is the 12th ranked golfer in the world. People are going to have a bitter taste in their mouth with Alexander Noren because of the 77 he shot on Sunday last week. But through 3 rounds, he was heading into Sunday at the top of the leaderboard. Had a tough round on Sunday, but if this guy can put together 4 solid rounds, he has the ability to win this event at 6,800. So you're not going to find many guys like that in a tough field event like this. Alexander Noren, don't overthink it. Just put him into your lineups. I wouldn't take a massive amount. I wouldn't touch him in cash, but definitely a viable option. So all of that being said, I think with this week being a little bit more of a difficult field event, you've got some of the biggest names in golf here, more of the biggest names in golf than we're used to. I think this is a week that you want to go a bit less all in on the guys you're picking and take a strategy where you're going to kind of sprinkle across the board a little bit more. I've been a little bit kind of on the fence for which direction I want to take over the past 3 or 4 events, giving it's a weak field, I think it's easier to identify which golfers are going to do well. There's not so many golfers that are actually relevant options to choose from. This is not the case this week. There are plenty of golfers that I could see winning this event. So my suggestion to you is, as you're building lineups, especially if you're building 50 to 100 lineups or so, you want to kind of sprinkle and spread. Take more guys than you're used to and lower your ownership percentage on some of the guys you like, and sort of hedge, so to speak. So that's my suggestion. You can take it or leave it. There's lots of winning strategies when it comes to GPPs. So kind of, take it with a grain of salt and make sure you don't abandon your style. So that's going to do it for us this week. If you guys like the video, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to leave a like rating. Leave me a comment with your favorite golfer. Which one up top do you think is going to win? I need to know, because I'm still undecided. I haven't made my lineups yet. I'm going to have to pick and choose at some point. At this point, I cannot decide which guys I want to play up top. So make sure to leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to make sure you check out all the videos, and get over to thefantasyfanatics.com and become a premium member. All of that being said, we are out of here. We will catch you guys next time.